Okay, it's been a long time since I have had an opportunity to be able to do my vlog. I know this is supposed to be, when I started out at the end of December, this was going to be a once a day vlog going 365 vlogs in a row. And I think I have missed, this is vlog 13 or 14 now. I have to do a count and figure out exactly what it is that it is. But in any case, a lot of things have changed. Number one is after my last video that I did, which was completely unrelated to my photography, it was completely unrelated to anything else other than something that I wanted to share regarding an experience I had many years ago when I was after undergraduate school up in Minnesota in a monastery. And did that, and then shortly thereafter, I began to work on a couple of other things, sort of formulating in my head some projects that I was going to be working on. And I noticed that I had some skin that was on my nose that was beginning to flake off. And I have a history of skin cancer. I have had melanoma twice, and if you had watched the last couple of videos or vlogs from me, I kind of go a little bit into it about dealing with melanoma. But I've also had quite a few squamous cell issues and also basal cell issues as well. So when I noticed the skin was beginning to peel, I was a little bit concerned because there was no reason for it. I hadn't had a sunburn or anything along those lines, so I wasn't sure what was going on with it, but I kind of had a bad feeling about it. And then I had gone into the dermatologist prior to that, pointed it out to him, and he had hit it with some liquid nitrogen, which usually they freeze off topical stuff with that. But I knew that that wasn't going to work, and I told him at the time, I said, I don't think this is one of those things that's going to go well with liquid nitrogen. And sure enough, after the next couple of weeks, I started to get some hard, like bumps along the ridge of my nose on this side. And it didn't look right. It didn't feel right. I made an appointment, went back in. He biopsied it and found out that I indeed did have squamous cell carcinoma on the right nostril. I'm sorry, the left nostril. Hello, right hand, left hand. The left nostril of my face, and then I was going to have surgery to remove it, which I knew was going to be a process. It was going to be pretty traumatic and serious based upon the location of it and the fact that the way that they deal with these things is what's called a wide excision. So what they do is they cut out a lot of tissue, and then they have to bring the tissue back together, the healthy tissue back together. So I had what's referred to as a Mohs, that's M-O-H-S, a Mohs procedure where I go into my dermatologist and he cuts an area, this time is about the size of a dime, and he cuts it down and he cuts it down until they've got healthy margins below and above it and on the side. And by healthy margins, I mean that there are no cells, no cancer cells in the tissue biopsy that they removed. So they had to do that twice. The first time they went pretty deep, and but there was still some remaining cells. And so they went back in again and did it, and it created a huge divot about the size of a dime all the way down in the nasal cavity. So it was pretty serious. And then after that, they had I went and had a plastic surgeon repair my face and put my face back together, which was essentially removing skin and moving the skin down from my forehead to cover my nasal passage. And I have a gnarly scar here now that's slowly beginning to repair itself. There's a lot of scabbing here now. I do have a little bit of black and blue here, but for the first couple of weeks, I could barely see out of my eyes. And my nose was very swollen and sore. So my eyes have gotten better. I still got a little bit of black and blue spots here, but I can see out of my eyes, which is great. And the plastic surgeon who sewed me up felt pretty positive that although I was going to have a scar, it was going to be negligible. It's hard to believe right now that that's going to be the case, that it's going to be negligible, because it really is a fucking awful scar. And that has really put me on the sidelines as far as getting doing the things that I wanted to do on my vlogs and moving forward. So I waited until today, until I finally felt like I was ready at least to get on here and to be able to talk about what's transpiring with me, with my health. I've had a documented history of cancer for now going on 16 or 17 years. Primarily skin cancer, although I did have another cancer as well, but primarily skin cancer of every variety. I'm the only one in my family. I have I have 5 siblings. I'm one of 6, and a mom and dad. And my sister, my second oldest sister, was a real sun worshiper. Used to put the baby oil on and had the reflectors and all that stuff. She's had a couple incidents of basal cell, which has been, not easy to deal with, but has not had these sorts of issues that I've had. Lucky me, I'm the only one in my family, 6, that has been dealing with cancer over the course of the last 15 or 16 years. So it's got me down. It's been really rough to deal with. It's been a process. It's a daily thing. It wasn't the way that I was planning on starting off my channel. It certainly wasn't the way that I was planning on starting my retirement, but it is what it is. I'm getting healthier every day. I have been hiking. The weather here in the upper Midwest has warmed up, and I've been able to get out and walk every day. I don't go to public places a lot because I don't want to freak anybody out. People are always staring, kind of wondering what's going on, and I didn't want to spend time with my grandkids because I didn't want to scare the hell out of them. So I've been spending a lot of time by myself at home, working on getting my printing all set up, and also to really tuning into my big project that I'm going to be starting at the end of the spring and early summer. I'm really excited about it. I worked with a variety of different materials to figure out what was the best way for me to stay mobile and do the things that I wanted to do and be able to do something. Like I said, I'm going to be doing portraits. I want them to be I want the results to be repeatable. I want them to look like each other with the lighting and the backdrop and everything. So a lot of the work that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks has been getting that dialed in and getting my equipment right and making sure that the results that I'm doing I can do repeatable. I also had to make some decisions about cameras and how I was going to accomplish this. Initially, I was thinking maybe I would go with medium format, or maybe I would just go with my Nikon gear, but I decided against both of that. And I went back and bought the Leica Q3 43 that I had taken to Ireland when I had done my trip to Ireland way back in third week in October of last year. So I just fell in love with that camera. It's right here. You can't see it, but well, you can't really get a good feel for it. But it's the Leica Q3 43, and it's looks a little bit different than the Q3. I've added some things onto it. I've got the Polar Pro grip with the L bracket, the Swiss Arca plate here and below, so I can drop it on the tripod and get vertical shots, and I can drop it on the tripod and get the horizontal landscape shots. And then I've added a thumb grip, and it's got a nice grip to it here, so it's really easy to hold. But you know, I fell in love with this camera when I was in Ireland. It was responsive. It was really fast. I thought the autofocus, once I had gone through enough tutorials and everything, I found it very responsive, at least easily responsive enough for the things that I was going to be doing with it. You know, my heart is not in birding photography or wildlife or anything like that. My heart is in portrait photography and street photography. And so this really does meet those needs. Now, I had two Q2s. I had the Q2, the regular Q2. No, I had three Q2s. So the first Q2, excuse me, I got a few years ago was just the regular Q2. It was the 40 millimeter with the 28 Summilux 1.7. Great camera. The focus was hit and miss. It was only contrast detection, and so when I would get into dark situations or dusk, dawn, any situations where there wasn't a lot of light, it didn't work very well. And but I still enjoyed shooting it, and I still was getting enough hits where I could deal with the fact that I was getting some misses as well. And so I really loved that camera. I went from the Q2 to the Q2 monochrome, which I used for about 2 months, and I loved it. But I miss shooting color. I really do love color in a lot of ways. There are certain things in my photography. When I have a project in mind, I'm thinking, am I going to do this in black and white, or am I going to do this in color? And having a monochrome sensor without the RGB filter on top, which helps to get the colors all straightened out and everything like that. Without that on top, it had beautiful monochrome images without a lot of noise. It was really enjoyable, but I missed color. So then when the Reporter, the green version of the Q2 came up, I jumped at that because green is my favorite color. Ended up taking that on a trip out west with me, really enjoying it. But also feeling like I had shot consistently with a 28 millimeter for almost 2 years on a constant basis, and I was just sort of tired with that focal length. I like 28 for street stuff. I really do. I really enjoy the 28 for certain things. But there is quite a bit of distortion in a 28 millimeter lens. And people can say, well, you can zoom in. I've always gone by that adage of, I believe it was Robert Frank, or maybe it was Kappa, Robert Kappa, who said, if you're not close enough, that means that, or if your photos aren't interesting enough, that means that you're not close enough. Totally get it. Totally agree. 28 millimeter, I'm not afraid of using it as a portrait lens, because I like getting in close to my subjects. And I like pushing the envelope a little bit with that, because it does put people on their heels a little bit. And I don't do that in an offensive or threatening way, but I do think that it kind of does make it difficult to control, for subjects to control what they're putting in front of the lens. And that's what I want to try and eliminate. I want to try and eliminate that membrane that people have between themselves and the world that they put up so easily. They have a certain look, or they have a certain way that they want to pose. And my street portraits, I wanted to have that membrane gone. So I liked moving up into the 28 position. But there is distortion at 28 millimeters. Even if you are shooting the object and you've got your object in the middle of the sensor, in the middle of the field of view, there is some distortion to the face. And then if you start going out to the edges, even if you're moved in very, very close, there is going to be some distortion. So when people say, oh, you just need to zoom with your feet, that's not really true. It's not really true. Even if I zoom with my feet and I move to one side or the other, or make sure my subject is right down in the center of the frame, there's still some widening and perspective issues that happen with that 28 millimeter focal length. And so after that, I really love the 35 millimeter. I really do love it. I think it is my favorite focal length of all. I love that it is wider than a regular field of view. I don't mind the distortion at 35 millimeters. It's not as pronounced as it is at 28 millimeters. And I like getting in tight. I like getting in close. I think it works really well for a street lens. And I can get a good portrait out of it, whether that be an environmental or regular headshot with it. But I really, my favorite length for portrait work has always been the 50 millimeter. I've always felt like the 85 millimeter or longer, I can get some great images from it. I have an 85 millimeter that I use on my Nikon gear that I use for portraits. I've used everything from the 180 to 600 zoom telephoto lens that I have, all the way to 90 millimeter macros and 85 millimeter lenses. I love the Tamron f1.8. I loved the new Nikon Z 85 f1.8. I love it, but it's not a field of view. It's not a focal length that I feel really excited about using. I do feel excited about using the 50 millimeter because, once again, I like to get in. I like to be part of the what's happening, the dynamic that's being involved. And 85 still feels kind of standoffish to me. So I was hoping that they would do something like this in a 50 or a 35. And then when they came out with the 43, I thought, perfect, because I've been shooting with the Nikon ZF, with the Nikon F2 Z mount lens for that. And that's a very sharp lens. It's a nice lens. It's a plastic lens. And it's a great camera. It's a great lens, but I really did want what I got from the Leica, which was a couple of things. Number one is it's got beautiful colors. There's very little that I need to do in post when I'm shooting in RAW to be able to get the colors where I need with my Leica Q3. Very little that I need to do. I just love how the images render themselves. If you've ever used a Leica, I know people think it's just for rich people. Well, I'm not a rich person, but I am a photographer who feels like I need to have the right tools to do my job. And this is the right tool for my job completely. Leica, you got to be a doctor to own a Leica, or, it's just people love it because the little red spot on top, and it shows that you're just sort of an elitist or whatever it is. Well, I could give a shit about the red dot on the camera or who makes this. Fujifilm has the X100 I've used a number of different X100 bodies that Fuji has made. I've never enjoyed their autofocus. I've never really enjoyed their menu system. And yet, while they have some great JPEGs and some great built-in simulations, I primarily shoot RAW anyways and then do all of my editing in post. So there are no advantages to that. And I just didn't like, at the end of the day, not working with a full frame 35 millimeter sensor. That to me has been really, really important since very early on I've been shooting. So this one comes with the full frame sensor. It's a 60 megapixel Leica F2 Apo Summicron lens. I have owned Leica Summicron lenses that I had mounted on my M10R at one point, and I liked it, the F2. I'm not wild about Summicrons, but when I tried this one and I took it to Ireland, I was amazed at the detail and the rendering and how sharp the F2 apochromatic lens was. And I quickly began to see all the possibilities with this focal length for me. Number one is that there's way less distortion for my portrait work. When I'm getting somebody in the frame, there is very little distortion. It's a very natural look, and it gives me a little bit more length. It's not like I need that length because I'm fearful of people and I really enjoy being back. I liked 28s, 24, 20 millimeter focal lengths because boom, it'd get me right in the action. But what I like about this is just the natural look of portraits. I love what I can do environmentally with this. I love what I can do with my close-ups with the F2, and the apochromatic F2 lens they have in the Leica Q3 43 is superb. These are some of the best optics that I have ever used, and I've used some great optics over the years. Everything from Hasselblad to Fuji GFX to some of the best Nikon glass that there is. And I put this lens, this F2 Apo 43 millimeter lens as one of the finest lenses that I've ever used. So I've decided that this is the camera for me, for my project that I'm going to be coming up and doing in the next, it'll be starting within the next 2.5 to 3 months. And this is the camera that I'm going to be using to be able to do the work that I need to do. So I'm very, very excited about that. Like I said, I got the polar bracket on here. I love the fact that it's got the Arca Swiss, and I can pop it on there for, pop it on my tripod for verticals, and I can pop it on there for landscapes and things like that. I've got the thumb grip, although I don't particularly need it. I've got a little soft focus button here that says Leica on it. Very, very cute if you're looking at it. But I just love the color. I just love the camera. I'm excited to use it for this work. 60 megapixels is a ton of megapixels to work with. I would be happy if it were half of that. It's not, and that's okay, because I can use those 60 megapixels. I can get a beautiful file out of this, and there's so much that I can do in post with this particular illuminated. It's a backlit illuminated sensor, 60 megapixels, and it's got, not only does it have contrast detection, but it's or contrast focusing, but it also has the phase detection as well. It's got for portrait work, it's got the face detection, eye detection, and it works pretty well. And quite honestly, because I'm not jumping out of bushes, or I'm not shooting a candid on the street trying to get people before they know they're being shot. It's not that I'm opposed to that. I do that on occasion. But when I'm doing my portrait work, I do it, and I ask people before I do it. I may not wait for an answer, but I am asking them for it. And then if they don't want me to use it, I certainly won't do it. So then I give everybody a card with my information and say to them, if you'd like a copy of this portrait that I just took of you, great. All you have to do is email me back. Let me know what you were wearing and the day that we shot it, and I'd be happy to send you a free edited portrait. So very few people take me up on that, but that's my offer. So that's where I've been. That's what's been going on with me. The time that I've had has given me time to start to really, really, really start tightening down, figuring out how I'm going to, be getting all of this stuff together and getting this project completed, because I'm really excited about the project now. So, although it's been a bummer, and I've been dealing with, quite a bit of depression around having to go through cancer again and having these radical surgeries and this sort of stuff, and it's been rough going. It has given me time to be able to really dial in and focus in on my upcoming project. So that's me. That's where I'm coming from. I'm going to be posting this. You can find it on YouTube. You can go to my website, which is www.johncostercreative.com. That's where I'm trying to get everybody going to, because it's got a lot of my writing on it. It's got a lot of vlogs, stories. It takes you into several of my Flickr albums that you can walk through the images if you're so inclined and really get a good feel for my work. So peace. Thanks for everybody. I know there's not many people listening or really knowing much about the fact that I'm doing this now, but I do appreciate the people that are doing it. Once I get cleaned up a little bit more, I think I'm going to make sure that I'm putting it out there on social media for people, and that my whole interface with social media is going to be in the hopes that I can drive that traffic to my website, where they can where people who are interested can view my pictures and read my stories and see my vlogs in a format that is more palatable to me and hopefully to you. So thanks very much. Appreciate it. Peace out. We'll talk soon. Bye-bye.